Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. My name is Andy Elliott, Realtor here in Williamson County, Tennessee, and I'm with my best bud, super trooper, superstar, Rodney Wilds, loan officer, First Bank, also Williamson County. Rodney, how you doing?
Fantastic. Fantastic. Couldn't be better. Weather's great. Had a great Labor Day weekend. College football started. The Vols won. I mean, it can't be better.
I just love it. And for anybody, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to let you know on the outside as we go into this, we're doing things a little different here. We've got, when I say super trooper, we're doing things a little bit different. So if the flow of the show is a little wonky, that's because Rodney's doing this from his phone. This is like if he was camping down there and, down south, this is how we would do it. So we're just going to tough it out. This month, Jay Powell is going to start talking about things, right?
Hopefully he does more than talk. Hopefully he lowers the interest rate.
Yeah. What does your company, I'm just asking, what does your company do to get ready? Or do you do anything to get ready? Do you expect there to be, what do you expect to have happen if they drop the rate? Are you going to get a lot of calls, a lot more questions? What do you think?
I don't expect a whole lot to change. Like in the mortgage world, it's kind of like it's mortgage-backed securities are like stocks and bonds. Um, whenever the people on Wall Street think or know something's going to happen, they're already built that quarter into our rates. So it's almost like if they don't go down, our rates may go up. So they're already, and again, at the beginning of the year, last year, they was talking about 6 cuts, Fed cuts this year,
Yeah.
Fed interest rates cut. And so they built that into the mortgage market. So if we don't see a couple cuts before the end of the year, we could see rates go back up. So, and that's kind of why it did that the last cut. If you remember, mortgage rates went up after the cut, which was very rare. I think it was just part of hey, you've said you were going to cut, but you haven't cut enough, so we're going to, get some of the money, some of it back now. So
Yeah. And he was at Jackson Hole recently, I think. And he does those signals, what they call them signals, where he's talking about, it seems to imply that he's going to cut. I mean, those are the signals that you're talking about, right? He's giving everybody
yes.
a heads up. Good morning, Angie, young lady from California. If I was a Beach Boys aficionado, I'd sing some sort of Beach Boys thing. So he's given the hints and everybody's built that in. They're prepared, I guess, is what you're.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you got if Tesla had some good news coming out, you know how everybody would jump on Tesla before the news come out or whatever,
Yeah.
So it's no different than that. It's like the people are already projecting that there's going to be a cut, so they're trying to get ahead of it and build that in as soon, well before it ever hits.
What makes me ask that question is that, and I'm always telling you guys that part of my job, part of being a realtor, is kind of keeping your finger on the pulse of the market and see what's going on, so you can give reasonably good advice. Nobody has a crystal ball or anything, But one of the things that I'm plugged into in Facebook, of all places, which I'm not a huge fan, but it's a great way to communicate. And I'm in a bunch of groups, realtor groups, where you can kind of get a sense from people across the country. It's not just Nashvillians, How do they think? And there's just a lot of conversation about what do you think is going to happen if the rates drop? Do you think it's going to be like that crazy time like we've had before? And that's what makes me, that's where that question comes from, is because there's people, it's all over the map. Some are saying it's not going to change a thing, and others saying it's going to be a free-for-all on Facebook, you know?
Yeah, it's not going to be a free for all.
Yeah, I don't either.
It'd take too much. The affordability issue is still prevalent, too prevalent for it to be a free for all.
100%. And that, speaking of that, today's theme, although, and again, I'm going to say this show's going to run a little differently because we're communicating differently. But the theme of the show today is how's the housing market changing in response to the affordability issue? That happens to be the theme of today. And the first article I want to touch on is going to be Trapped by Shrinkflation, the risk of buying a home you can't afford to leave. And it caught my attention. And this is from Realtor.com. We're always telling people that there are some companies, Realtor.com being one, that tend to be a positive spin on everything in real estate because they're in the job selling houses, you know, so we want to keep us all looking good. But I find they're pretty balanced. You know, if it's kind of crummy news, they're going to say that, you know, but they tend to skew positive. So let me dive into this real quick. Trapped by shrinkflation. Say that 10 times fast. Shrinkflation is coming to more than just your mac and cheese or your toilet paper. It's all coming for your house. New single-family homes have shrunk 11% in the last decade, while their price per square foot has exploded 74%, according to the new study from LendingTree. To make the math work, builders are cutting hallways, diminishing bedrooms, and designing Tetris-style floor plans that squeeze more function into less space. John Burns Research Consulting has already declared the death of the hallway. If you've ever heard of John Burns, they are like a heavy hitter research deal. Warning that entry-level homes are now defined by smaller kitchens, pared down finishes, and compact outdoor areas. But here's the catch. While today's downsizing designs may fit a buyer's budget and lifestyle now, it's increasingly likely that they'll outgrow the home before they reach the break-even point. And that's where hopefully I can pull Rodney in here. And he's doing this flying blind, man. He's not looking at these articles. So this is an entire show of a little off the top. While a starter home once gave families a runway to trade up in 5 years or so, it can take 8 to 10 years to recoup the cost of buying in today's market. I'll stop for a moment there. In the real estate business, it used to be the rule of thumb was when you would go talk about, you know, buying a house and that when you could recoup all the expenditures it cost you to get into the thing. And we used to say, on average, it was 3 to 5 years. Is that, you know, a few years ago, is that what was standard for you too, Rodney, or what?
Yeah, I kind of just look at past appreciation, you know, like if it's 0 or 1%, either way, you know, that's really not much change. But when it's, you know, it seems to always go, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5%. And in 1 year, it might be 15%. And in 2 years in a row, it's 15 and 18%. Things
Yeah.
like that. You see big stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't really, you know, the correlation there is, you know, it is what it is. It's just, you know, it's just the price has been going up. So I think, yeah, in the past, you know, you could have had 6 months, you know, you could have lived there 6 months and it paid it for itself. You could have sold. And
Yeah.
then, you know, there's sometimes it may take 3 or 4 years, 5 years, but the 8 to 10 seems a little long for me. Like, I don't like if you pull up our statistics, it ain't 8 to 10%. Like it's nowhere close to that. It's like it would be 3 years, you know, even in the last couple years, you look at it.
Yeah. 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 I remember back in and I can't, you know, I cannot shake the experiences I had from the shift. It's like kind of defined my career a little bit, meaning the way that I think of how housing can change. Because when I read an article like this that says it's going to be 8 or 10 years to recoup the cost, the reason I look at that with some skepticism, healthy skeptic, is you don't know what the hell's going to happen in the next couple of years.
Right, right.
I
It
mean,
could be
what the
50 years for all we know. It could be never, but that's not what our world has seen for, over the past 100 years.
Yeah, and I mean, so back when it was like say 2012, 2013 stuff, if we weren't talking to somebody that was in a foreclosure situation or something tragic like that, it's just a normal house, we would tell them, they're going to not recover very much when they sell the house. But if somebody's going to go buy, we would always say, just how long do you intend to stay? Is this big enough? If you're going to grow your family, I mean, do you have plans for more kids? If you have one kid, you're going to have three, whatever.
Yeah,
You'd have to say, is 4 bedrooms going to be enough, or three, or whatever the case? But 3 to 5 years, not only to cover that cost, to recoup that, to break even, if you will. That was just sort of the rule of thumb. And then 2019 comes along, and like you said, 2020, people were recovering their costs like in a week. It's
right.
just like,
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
jeez, it's
They were
crazy.
selling their houses in a year to make money. So, yeah. But I had something about the shrinkflation. The shrinkflation was a pretty. I mean, I thought the shrinkflation was a pretty good. What am I trying to say? Pretty good solution for our time. Because if the houses and finishes didn't get smaller and didn't get more affordable, these prices would have just skyrocketed, and there would have been a whole nother layer of people wouldn't have been able to afford the home then. So if builders hadn't have done that, because they were moving, things they were doing was moving further out in location. They were building smaller. They were, like I said, reducing some of these finishes. Um, you know, outgrowing the piece really wasn't even kind of in the last 5 years a big deal about buying, because there's people just trying to plant their flag.
Yeah,
Is like, hey, I'll worry about 5 years. I got to worry about tomorrow. I got to get in something today. So um, yeah, but I think the shrink. I think the people who bought with the really good rates are the ones who couldn't afford to go out and rebuy their house now. Like it went from say 1 million to 2 million or whatever it is.
yeah,
And they got a 2.5%. That's the perfect situation. Not necessarily the ones that's bought the shrinkflation home or a little bit maybe out of the area or whatever, going further out for
yeah, yeah,
affordability. I
yeah.
think around here they're still good. It's not like it's the typical 3 to 5 year, um, easy get out situation for them if they wanted to.
Yeah, it's and you make a really. This is a really good point, and I wish I had thought about this so I could pull up the statistics. I wonder, because I mean, I'm old enough that I remember. I grew up in houses built in the '70s and the '80s. I mean, you didn't, just barely, but the houses back then, there wasn't any master. There was a bigger bedroom, usually in the back in the corner, but the master bathroom back in those days, honest to God, was nothing more than really a half bath that they replaced a closet with. I mean, the master bath back in those days wasn't much. If you wanted to take a full deal, that was in the main section of the house. What I'm trying to say is, over the years, like in the '90s and the 2000s, remember the McMansions people used to talk about?
Hmm.
Those started to come around when money was maybe not, back in the '80s and stuff. That's when it was 12, 15%, shit like that. Sorry, stuff like that. But in the early 2000s, and the rates started going down after all the trouble, they started building bigger houses because people could afford more. Plain and simple. If money is cheap,
Exactly.
you can buy them big ass houses, and
Hmm.
now we're in the case of, it's getting harder and harder to afford a house. So, and we were talking about this 2 years ago, how builders are building smaller houses. Trey Lewis, you know him, with Old South.
Hmm.
I mean, I think he's pretty close to number one, but they follow those trends really well. If it's tight on dollars, they're going to build smaller homes. That's what they follow. He's really smart. They make a good home, but I don't think it's a secret that they're kind of starter homes. Most of the time. That
Well,
kind of thing.
it's but that company has done that and done it the best in Tennessee since they've started.
Yeah,
Um, they didn't. It's like a lot of builders feel like if they're building a starter home, they have to build a move up home and then a McMansion next. He has stayed right with first time home buyers his whole career and just crushed it.
yeah,
Done
yeah,
just hundreds of units every year, and it's nice to see. It's you see a lot of these builders that's well they start out 3 or 400, but they want to do 3 or 4 million. It's
yeah.
it's a phenomenon. I've never understood that. It's like I would be building whatever I think I could sell the fastest, but I'm sure they make more money on those big ones. But that's all.
Maybe
It's yeah.
not today.
It
Although
yeah, if you've
uh,
got caught with 4 or 5 of them, you may not have. But anyways, that Old South Properties has had they've done a wonderful job in our area forever.
forever. I mean,
It's a great builder. Yeah,
and Trey Lewis is his name. If you're looking for a house, a reasonable price with good quality, look up Old South, and just look for Trey Lewis. I mean, I don't think he's in sales business anymore, but he'll talk to you.
yeah,
He's a really good guy. And let me tell you a story about some of the way that he builds, and talking about them is actually kind of appropriate when we're talking about this building to the market, because I think that that's what they probably do better than anything that I've ever seen. But you can, like, there'll be places in, like, there's a place called Nolansville east of here, and Antioch, and I mean you can go back in the woods. Antioch is, you got city, you got some town, but on the other side of the highway, meaning the west side of 24, there's like this wooded area, and it's all Antioch, and it's huge, and it's just south of Lenox Village and all that kind of stuff. The reason I'm telling you that, it's sort of, I don't want to say rural, but what is the word I'm looking for? It's out there, it's just out sort of in the middle of nowhere. It's a nice place to be. And then you'll drive up to this community out of nowhere. It's got 40, 60, 80 homes in it. They're all really nice. And those are Old South. They'll take this chunk of dirt that you nonplussed, and then 3 years later, you're going to go back and it's this nice place to live. And I always, what always strikes me is you're driving along, there's nothing, 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 and there's a community, bam, right there. It's out of
yeah.
nowhere. He's pretty cool. Those are pretty cool. Great guy to work with. Old South, free ads. Give him a call. He's a good one. And I'm sure, are they everywhere? Are they just local or
Yeah. Well, I think they're in Tennessee. They're not. They're not
Tennessee?
sorry, my stand is giving me
That's okay.
problems.
You're doing great. We're making it, man. To continue for decades, making back the money. I guess I could do 2 pips in a share. Look at us, bam. Look at that. That's really good. For decades, making back the money spent to buy a home was pretty simple. Stay put for at least 5 years, and you'll likely turn a profit when you sell. The buffer gave your home enough time to appreciate in value to cover the upfront cost of buying. That didn't build equity. Everything from agent fees to closing costs, origination charges. Of course, that argument's going to change if you put a ton of money down, right? Right? Of course.
Yeah, I mean, even if you buy it, I mean, the way I'm looking at it, even if you buy it for 100%, it falls in the same category to me. I'm kind of thinking about how much your house is making during the first 5 years because your equity's kind of dead if it's just sitting in there.
I tell you what, in terms of uh, value growth here, this now, if it's 1%, I think we're going to be lucky. Now, that's going to be across the country. It's different for everybody. I'm saying for us, it's slow for us. I think that the mega expensive places are still selling pretty briskly, is my understanding. But for all the rest of it, it's relatively slow. So anyway, on to back onto this. So as the timeline to break even stretches longer, it's putting pressure on other aspects of home life. And this is talking about this shrinkflation again. Take, for example, the typical starter home between 1,000 and 1,400 square feet. That's typical. In the 70s, like it was 1,700 feet. That's what it was. That's what you get. 3 bedrooms, and they're all 11 by 11, except for the master, be 12 by 13. So, woo, room to roam. It might feel like a perfect fit for 2 people on closing day. There's room for a dining table, maybe a home office in the smaller bedroom, even a little table and chair on the porch. But fast forward 5 years, add 2 kids in the same house is now claustrophobic. The office is gone, the bedrooms are overflowing, toys are piled into every corner, and yet the financial reality is the same. You still haven't broken even in on your home purchase. So the old logic of the housing ladder, buy a starter home, leverage it up to trade into a family home, has stalled. Do you agree with that?
No, no, I don't. Okay, I'll say, has it stalled compared to the last, not to say the last 3 or 4 years, but it's going to stall when you compare it to what we just went through 4 or 5 years ago, like what we've seen with house prices doubling in some areas, increasing by 100%. Yeah, those, yes, it's going to stall from that, but I don't think it's going to stall from the 3 to 5 year, almost every single purchase being a good purchase in 3 to 5 years, in my opinion, just from what we've seen in the past. So no, I don't see that at all. And I think it's more important now to when it's harder, get your flag planted earlier, as early as possible.
All right. The one thing that, as professionals, the one thing that we can say pretty much without exception is that you show me a house, show me somebody that's bought a house and maintained it. That's kind of key. Maintained a house 5 years ago or whatever. All of them have equity unless you're tapping into that equity and using it without wisdom. I mean, that's something that people don't miss on that. That's just a great way to build wealth. And what this article is talking about is how fast is it growing? That's really what it boils down to. So it says, who feels the squeeze most? No one is feeling the squeeze more than millennials and Gen Z first-time buyers. I have to admit, first-time buyers. And you said something a minute ago. I think that bears repeating. And I think that you're probably more right than anything I've heard about. There is a large number of people out there that own homes that, bought when the rates were 2.7. There's going to be a lot of those people that they couldn't buy a home commensurate with what they've got now. Talk about locked in. There's a lot of that. There really is. Anyway, the reason I mention it is no one's feeling the squeeze more than millennials and Gen Z first-time buyers. I would include that in a lot of people that own homes that bought them cheap back in the day. About 1 in 5 relied on family assistance to purchase their first home, underlining how out of reach starter homes already are for that demographic. Now I keep coming to you for these questions. This is my life with Rodney. I call him up. Hey, I ask him questions. This is what we do. Do you find that to be more and more? 1 in 5 is a terrible number. Is that pretty common with you guys? You're having a lot of people getting family help to buy first-time homes?
Yes. Gifts, grants, co-signing, as affordability has taken a hit over the last few years. We've seen everything to try, with, families making it work. I don't see a lot of multi-families getting together, but I do see, parents helping, all that. And it's, I mean, you know, some of our younger buyers have, doing a good job. They've got good credit. A lot of them have good credit, good income, and it's just hard to save up a bunch of money in today's world, getting started, coming out of college and all that. So, yeah, we see a lot of family help, but I there's always been some family help, but it's probably more now.
Yeah, it is it is a bunch of money. I remember when I bought, I was like, man, I can do this. I mean, it was really doable, and this was a number of years ago, and and you watch kids. You can be in your 30s and 40s, and you're a kid to me. Um, they're bringing significant funds to the table to get things done. So it is a kind of a challenging time. So for growing families, the squeeze is even more unforgiving in metros like Colorado Springs, which I lived there for 30 years, beautiful place. Charlotte, North Carolina, Houston, where shrinkflation is the most acute. Buyers are starting with fewer square feet, slower appreciation, and steeper transaction costs. The reason that's happening out in Colorado Springs is because it grew so fast, it blew up, and now I'm not going to say it's collapsed, but it's going on there. Hey, it's slowing down a little bit, and so when you buy there, because it's collapsed a bit after the crush, COVID, it's going to take a long time to catch up again. And again, it's a beautiful place, and it's always going to be popular because I got to tell you, there's nothing more beautiful looking at Pikes Peak in that blue sky in a bright early morning. Damn, I miss that a little bit. And the air, whew, nice. But the pressure isn't just financial either. It's home ownership has long been the primary way Americans build wealth. But when it takes nearly a decade to break even, which we're going to touch on that again, like we did, Millennials and Gen Z risk falling behind their parents' timelines for equity growth. That delay has ripple effects, postpones moves, delayed family formation, which that is a case. I have learned, we were talking about that a few months ago, that when you think about the big picture of housing, the main reason for it is family formation. Even being in the business, I can't say that it eluded me, but I never thought about that first and foremost. But from a fundamental thing, buying a house is so you can grow your family. And it's like, how stupid am I? I mean, missing the bigger picture, cramped households. But anyway, so the bottom line is shrinkflation is forcing families to buy small. Mortgage math is forcing them to stay longer. Together, those forces could permanently reshape how we think of starter homes. See, that's a little harsh. I think there's AI in there. As less of a rung on a ladder and more as a place where family are forced to linger long after the walls feel too tight. And that's what this article is about. If I had, tell me how you feel about this. And I think we touched on it. And if we did, then we can move on. It's pretty easy to take an article like that, which today makes sense, like we're talking about with Old South or any builder. Any builder is going to have to build a smaller home to put it in a price range for people to buy, market to the people that can buy. Duh. That's not difficult math. But we lost him. Might have to call back. There we go.
Did you see that pop up? See, one of my loan officers there just called me during the show. Did his name pop up on the show?
Nope.
Uh,
Nope. It went black.
and I'm so all that means is that he's not watching my podcast. So
come on, Jordan. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, that completely lost my train of thought. I don't know. That's gone. Shrinkflation. We're buying less.
Yeah, he's talking about the affordability on the people moving.
Yeah, it's gone.
All right.
It's gone. So we're
So
gonna
I
move
mean,
on.
it's I'm gonna have to tell my guy that just called in. He disrupted the whole show and just
Disrupt
made
your
us lose
show.
our train of thought.
it's 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 my thoughts are fragile these days. I'm 71 now, so I
Yeah,
can go from I've got a good thought to what was I looking at, so um
yeah,
and we don't have the ability to do something, one of my favorites, Rodney's riff, but I can do this. I'm going to ask you a question, and hopefully I've asked you this before if this is a bothersome question for you, and each time you have said is it absolutely not. So I'm going to be bold, assume that it's not a problem. And the question is, and this is where it would normally be Rodney's riff, and he would take off and be really smart because he's really truly the smartest guy in the room. But the question that I thought I'd like to ask him, and this is one of the Reddit threads, and it says, why don't people spend more time mortgage shopping? And I know that he's got no problems with that. Because he's always won with when he's done that. But it says, hi all, I have an honest question about an issue I've noticed while building our first home. Why don't people shop around for mortgages? I see people spend more time shopping for couches, tables, furniture, etc. I've applied to several places. They'll count as one credit pull, I think within 30 days, I think is the rule, maybe. I can negotiate between a few. I don't see the downside other than a few extra minutes. Am I missing something? I feel like I'm the only person of friends, family putting much thought into this, but maybe I'm misreading the situation. Thoughts on that?
yeah. I do think people shop. Um, I'm not necessarily. I will say this: I don't think it takes a lot of time to shop, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's not the time investment; it's doing it correctly. Like, and the reason the time piece is I say the time piece is because you really have to do it on the same day. Like, you can't compare me to say another bank
Mm-hmm.
and have a day or two apart. So the market could have moved way better. I could, let's say that other company could be better than me, and I could give a quote, and they check the other company on a different day, and makes mine look better, and therefore they're really not getting the best deal. So it's how to shop versus spending the time. But you should, in a large purchase, like when you're shopping for a couch, you're really not probably comparing one at $1,400 and one at $1,450. You're trying to probably find one you like.
Mm-hmm.
But in mortgages, you're going to get, it's pretty much the same thing. You're going to get a 30-year fixed mortgage. So you just need to shop your fees and your rate, because the rest of it's going to be pretty much the same. You're going to have the same title company. You're going to have the same taxes. You're going to you're going to close at the same time of the year. So the escrow count be the same. The only difference is going to be your lender cost. So that's the thing about shopping, is just try to do it the same day. And but you don't have to do it all that much time, and you don't have to have your credit pulled either to do that at all. Like, you could call. I'm a very private person. Like, if I was shopping, I wouldn't give my personal information. I would just say I have a house I'm ready to buy in 30 days. This is my credit score, or approximate credit score. It's got to show up on their system too, as that's what I can't lie about it. But once you do that, you just call and say, "Can you give me a quote on what that would be on your rates and fees?" Say if I locked it in this afternoon, and you do call 2 or 3 places, and you'd be set.
That is really wise advice. Do it all in the same day. And this is going to sound like a commercial, and I preface that trying to be cautious. That this show isn't about promotions per se, but we're talking about lenders and getting a good lender. I'm going to tell you, with somebody that's done a bunch of loans with Rodney and a few others too. I'm going to tell you, there's been I've had my fair share and I'm the guy that gets to watch what's going on. I've had my own personal loans, but let me say this about that. When you're comparing, when you're making those comparisons, first, if I don't know what states, I've asked this question probably a million times. I should probably write it down. This is one of those fragile moments. I can't remember things.
Pretty much all of them.
Thank you very much. If you're looking for a loan, call Rodney. His information is in the description box. You'll notice we don't do that a lot. That's not what this show's about, but we'd love to work with you. Don't be silly. Of course, we would love to work with you on that. But when you're doing your comparison, get the rest of the story. And by that, you can only get the rest of the story with getting referrals from people that you trust. Because listen, you can watch stuff on TV and there's some good pitches out there to make things look really easy. But I am telling you, there's a difference between the front end. It's easy to get started, but we can't make closing because of this and that. And we forgot something. I am telling you that easy in does not necessarily mean an easy close. And Rodney, I'm just going to brag about him. He's at 100% on time closing for me over, I don't know how many, it's been a long time, a decade and a half. That doesn't happen by accident. And there have been people that would call me and say, we're having trouble. You'll remember Tori, maybe I'm not going to say his parents' last name, but they were having problems. And I called Rodney. I said, they're having problems. It was it's like $2 million deal. And he says, have him give me a call. And he fixed them up in 10 days. Is he a magician? Kind of. It's just, but he knows the rules and he knows, which rules to I don't want to say bend. That sounds slippery, but he knows how to do the business. I'm saying, and I'll stop because I'm passionate. I am passionate about this. Call somebody you trust. Find somebody that they had a good experience with. Because I'm telling you, if you have a great deal and you miss your closing, it's not a great deal. It doesn't feel so great, and it's sometimes. So, trust but verify. Ronald Reagan, thank you very much. But I appreciate. He's the best.
Well, that's kind of you to say, but yeah, it's we all sell money. I mean, that's the thing, and it's I obviously think closing. We've always worked for a professional mortgage company my whole career, so missing closings really is not an option wherever I've been. So that's not the way to do business, but that's the difference between, say, a local lender in your area and probably a national lender that you're going to talk to on the phone. The difference is, I live here, I work here. I won't say I'll see you at the grocery store, but you can see my wife there or something, but I'll see you
You're
at the
surely not
golf
going to see
course
him at the car lot.
yeah. So it's just a difference. We try to we want to close every single thing on time with customers and treat them really well and have a banking relationship with them after. And some of the other mortgage companies, their deal is to get this transaction and move on. So if they offer a little bit cheaper fees or whatever, and people, I totally understand it, but it's they some of those national lenders have a really bad reputation for never even making it to the table. They've gotten 1,000,000% better from when they started. They'll actually close now, but it's still not like your professional mortgage people in your area.
Yeah. I'll wrap it up this way, and I swear by this, that the bottom line isn't always the rate. It can be the experience. You won't believe that until you're the one that's not closing.
Yeah, it's just hard. It's just hard to, it's hard for a customer to choose, So that's why I always say we sell money. We want to be the best deal around because it's hard to leave money on a table to think you're going to get because we've returned phone calls fast. We've gotten you something on the weekends and the other people are absent. But, it's like two adults talking over dinner and being like, yeah, but it's $500. $500 is a lot of money or whatever. And then they go with the other company for $500 and they have a bad experience. That's probably, but you just can't give, as a family, you can't give a bunch of money away. And our job is to try to get you the best rate and fees, so you go with us and you get a great service. So,
Yeah,
I mean, that's
and
just the way it is. I mean, we compete against money, and I can't say, oh, you're going to close on time, because everybody should expect to do that.
yeah, I it's rates and fees get you in the door, but experience gets you referrals. That's the way it seems to me. Um, while we're talking about downsizing and trying to, the theme of of the show today is what's the market doing to accommodate for this affordability thing, because it really is creating shifts across the country. Now this one is more local, so Rodney and I are going to feel this more acutely, but we've been talking about other cities doing it as well. And what this is it's an article about Metro Nashville leaders considering new affordable housing options with rezoning. And I won't keep it up because it's a flashy website. It's annoying is what it is. But what they're going to try to do here in Nashville, and they're trying to do that, I know in a lot of California cities as well, I know Santa Barbara is trying to do this with ADUs, right? Additional dwelling units in backyards and make them legit, that kind of stuff. They're trying to squeeze more people into smaller land masses, I mean, smaller areas. And I'm going to read this, and let's just see if we can't predict what's going to, what the fallout's going to be. And it says, affordable housing options with rezoning. It's part of the city's effort to create more affordable housing. I guess I should do it. Annoying notwithstanding. It's part of the city's effort to create more affordable housing. The Housing and Infrastructure Study estimates suggest that Nashville should anticipate demand for 90,000 additional housing units over the next 10 years. Old Trey, I bet he's got his finger on that number. To keep up with demand, housing is the foundation to everything. It's no secret that there's a shortage of affordable housing in Nashville. Now there's new plans to change the way some neighborhoods look and feel. We're really just getting started on addressing our housing needs. That particular comment surprised me, because how long have we been having housing issues? Forever. We're just getting started. On Thursday, August 28th, the Metro Planning Commission will talk about zoning changes to allow new and affordable housing options to Nashvillians called middle housing. I had not heard that term until this. For example, 3 and 4 plexes and the small scale apartment buildings, Gamble said, is desperately needed. You read about those small scale apartment buildings and how it used to be they had to have 2 sets of stairwells in apartments, right? And now they're going to downgrade that to where you only need 1. And they're suggesting that it is going to be a real game changer for apartment buildings. It seems amazing to me. 1 stairwell, I guess you get more people in there. It's changed dramatically. And here we go. It's changed dramatically, Gamble said. And I'm not casting aspersions. I don't know this guy. But you're talking to the people here. So when I bought my house in 1997, housing was more affordable. Really? Newsflash. Affordability and more options. If I'm stepping on you, just cut right in, Rod. Affordability and more options are the goals of the rezoning. Okay. It's a concept real estate experts say will be beneficial for people who may be first-time home buyers. There's a big sticker shock factor currently, Harvey, director of Tennessee Realtors and Greater Nashville Board, said. All of a sudden, you're going to buy your home, and the median price is in the $450,000 to $500,000 range for your first home. It's pretty hard to swallow for most folks. Industry experts and metro leaders agree. While some neighborhoods may become different, it's one new solution to provide better housing. There's not one size fits all, and this is true. There's not one magic answer. There's got to be a whole toolbox of answers. What do you think is going to happen, Rodney?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, because they're saying they want to talk about affordability, a housing affordability, first time home buyers. But accessory dwelling units, quadplexes, duplexes, apartments, everything that article's mentioning is really not a first time home buyer strategy. You know, it sounds like it's really good for slumlords, and then on top of that, it's okay. If you let's talk about Nashville. If you want, how is it going to become affordable? Because any lot in Nashville that's been whatever it's called zoned to where it could have a 2 unit family on it,
Yep.
they are building attached units, but they're not for affordable people. They're building these, attached $1 million properties, or plus. That's what I'm thinking is that what they're going to turn this into is, just, now you can build two for a builder, you know what I'm saying? But it's not really affordable housing. Like, now, if you did all, say, if it pertained to all ADUs, accessory dwelling units, and if you rented it to somebody in a low income bracket, maybe you get a tax break or something. But that ain't what they're talking about. I mean, so I don't get that. There's just very few that where a first time home buyer could come in and scoop up a piece of property and live where they can work downtown. Like, say, if you have I don't know, just something, a service industry or McDonald's or something. Where is a manager going to live close to that McDonald's downtown Nashville to make enough to work there? You know what I'm saying? So all the people that work there have to need affordable housing, but I don't think, I don't necessarily think, I don't know. This one's up in the air on me for me. It doesn't sound like they've got a very good strategy for it. And I don't know what neighborhood would want it outside of a very affluent neighborhood that's going to build very nice 2 units, you know.
It's
So
it seems that because when I hear them talking about this, and if you're not from Nashville, this won't mean very much. So I'll try to paint a picture of it a little bit. And this uh, this is true. I'm not exaggerating. I think Rodney can back me up on this. A number of years ago, so it goes back a little ways. North Nashville was a little different than it is now. Now it's got Germantown and that one section up there is pretty nice. But there's a balance if you flip across the highway and stuff, North Nashville, and there's another neighborhood, I can't think of the name of it. It's kind of tough. I mean, we would go looking at houses up there, and I would say like, hey man, roll up the windows, because it was. I know that sounds harsh, but I experienced that. I experienced that. You take those kinds of neighborhoods, you knock down a house that probably should be knocked down, like Harold Wilson used to do. Remember that Wilson used to just take half of a street and knock down 4 or 5 houses, and you'd see his roll offs up there. Harold Wilson, what's his name? Wilson. I'm sure Wilson. Can't think of it. His daughter Christy still around. But they're going to try to take that and stuff more people into an area that probably already feels a little bit congested. And so, what are you going to do with septic, or what are you going to do with parking? And it sounds like a formula for congestion to me. Does that make sense? Are you locked up on me? Did we lose it? Oops. That's what it sounds like to me. And I know that he's coming back as soon as he can. Anyway, so that is the take that's what I get from what they're trying to do here. I understand what they're trying to accomplish on that kind of a thing. I know Roddy's coming back any moment now. But anyway, so that's pretty much it on that. They're trying to do something about it to make it more affordable for people to get through it. Can you tell I'm befuddled a little bit? It's all right. Oh, look who's back. All right, he's back.
sorry about that.
That's all right.
My I think I have some kind of power issue here. So who knows?
All right. We're good. We're good. I was just droning on about the metro trying to get people in there. I've learned that this is very hard to do without you, buddy. You see a raise coming. Anyway, I think that's about that. That's what's going to happen is that it's going to be more congested and that kind of thing. Now, I could imagine if you took an area, let's say a footprint like that, and if we're talking about Trey Lewis, if you were to just level stuff, and I'm not talking about people's houses, but start from scratch, I bet you could create greater density that's really nice. And I think that that's the tricky part of what that plan is how do you do two duplexes and fourplexes and apartment buildings, because apartment doesn't sound like housing to me, except for rentals. I mean, how do you do that and make it attractive? It's the quality of life is what I'm trying to say that might be missing in the puzzle piece in this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's because I don't see how it's going to go when like they keep talking about how can a first time home buyer own it? Like that's what I'm saying is like if they don't own it, it doesn't help them very much. They're just renting. So if they're just renting, it doesn't matter what that affordability, what that stuff is.
You probably can't read that. Angie says Rodney's on a coffee break. I'm over he is. He's. It's a good time to renegotiate. 100%. Now, but at least I think, and I'll finish up kind of on this because there's nowhere else to go with this. At least there's discussions being had. They're trying to figure out things to do. When you think about density, and maybe you don't agree, maybe you do. There's a place here, and it's called McKay's Mill. And the density, I mean, if you looked at it from the sky, seems like you could walk from rooftop to rooftop almost. It's certainly an exaggeration. But I mean, man, there's some density going on down there. And you wouldn't know it. If you're driving through down there, McKay's Mill, it's nice. There's these row houses, and it's just nice. And they've got the alleys set up in the back for the utilities. So the front is very picket fence and the back is where you take out the trash. It's really, really nicely done. So if they're talking about affordability, I just keep seeing, especially with this particular thing, meaning the Nashville trying to figure out it boils down to they're trying to figure out how to stuff more people in the same space. I don't know why this bugs me, but that's what it is.
Right. I mean, it's already, yeah, I mean, I guess that's what every big city goes through. And I don't necessarily, I know what I would like my neighborhood to look like, but I don't necessarily know that, but I don't know. They're going to end up doing that. They're going to end up building ADUs and other units on regular, single lot properties and stuff people in there. I just don't see how the ownership is going. I just don't think that that's going to help the ownership because like somebody already owns the property. Like nobody's going to be buying an accessory dwelling unit on my property. So
And when that starts to happen, you're going to have some neighbors that are like, you're going to have some street meetings. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
I mean,
it'll be
because
interesting.
some neighbor wants to live by himself and don't want to hear anybody. The other one would just soon have 50 people living there. I mean, it wouldn't. Everybody's different.
Yep.
So
Yep. The last thing I wanted to be able to touch on, and it may seem outside the theme of what's going on with affordability and housing and that kind of stuff, but it is something that I think we can cover in just a couple of minutes, and I'd really be interested in what Rodney has to say. And the bottom line is, because the market had this rapid shift in from 2000 to, I guess now it boils down to, was it 2020 to 2023 when, I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, when housing just went crazy pricing? Was it 2023? Certainly slowed down 2024 when it was appraisal gaps and all of that stuff. That was just like a 3-year period.
Yeah, it was before then though. It was 2020 and 21, maybe 20 was heck, I don't even remember. 21 or 21 was busy, but not 22, right?
Well, I can't remember now. I mean, it started in 2020 when everything came to a halt in March or April, when everything stopped. And then it went BS for a while, for at least 2 or 3 years. You know, it's interesting. This is 2025. That was a pretty short period of time, and it had a huge impact. They said, what was the, why did I look this up? The average number, there was 4 million houses sold per year during those times, right? And the question is, and here's what this is, the article is about, and I'll make it quick. Homeowners who bought during COVID, the COVID boom, may face 7 key realities in today's market. And all I'm talking about, the bottom line on the article, if we were to get to it, is there's going to be a larger number of people that's going to be underwater on their mortgage than in the past because, I mean, of that horrible situation where, I didn't mean that. That unique situation where people were paying $50,000 over and that kind of stuff. Do you think down the road it's, well, I think, what's your take on the people that bought, I'm going to say when the market was so hot, that was 50,000 over and appraisal gaps and stuff. Could those be the people that's talking about a number of years to break even? Do you think? Is that them?
You know, it could, they could be, but I didn't think of it like that because I think of the people who paid appraisal gaps, uh, basically just took their cash and said, in which, yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Is they just took 30, 50,000, whatever it was, and said, I want this house. Like, I'm paying
Period.
you 30,000 just to be a buyer of your house. So I didn't look at them like they were in a bid against other people that cost them the 30,000, not the house. So I don't look at them like losing that 30,000, but if you added that up, I don't think it's going to take them that much longer to get it. I mean, like I said, if it's been 3 to 5% a year since then, and let's just say this year is the lowest it's been. It's been what, 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
Last year it was 1 or 2%. So it's, if they go 3%, just average 3% for 3 years. I mean, that's 9%. I mean,
Yeah.
but I don't look at them making up that appraisal gap money because that's a lifestyle convenience. That's a purchase. That's a one time. It's like a membership to a country club. It's like you pay it just to live there or get to go play golf there.
Yeah.
It's gone. You
Yeah.
know.
I had a client that paid significantly more than 30 because he and his wife, it was the retirement years, and they're clearly prepared for it, but it
Yeah.
was the house in the area, and it was like, we want that house and we're willing to do this for that. And I was like, okay, I mean, it's a quality of life decision. I tell you what, I've got story time and it'll be quick. What generated my curiosity on this was the flood. For anybody that's not familiar with the Nashville, back in 2010, there was a flood that we had, and it was in May of 2010, I think it was. Isn't that right, Rodney? I think.
Yep.
And the flood came, and it was bad. It was bad. But here's what happened in one place. And I can't even think. Rivers Retreat. What there was, Rivers Landing.
West
Jesus.
Nashville, just west
It was out.
of the
It was
city.
Sawyer Brown.
Bellevue.
What River Plantation? That's what it was. River Plantation. This is a great story of what happened. What unexpected consequences. River Plantation is a townhome development that probably has several hundred homes at least, and it's Sawyer Brown It's in the Bellevue area. It's real nice. They're older, 80s, built in the 80s. But there was a ton of homes out there. Still is. And during the flood, probably half of River Plantation got flooded. And I can't explain the formation of the land. I mean, but it was amazing to look at that when you drive. It was amazing. It was horrific to see, is what I'm trying to get at. And so half of these hundreds of River Plantation homes were flooded, just flooded, decimated. And what they did out here in Nashville, at least out there, is for those areas that got flooded, of course, FEMA came in and there was FEMA insurance. And what they did was, once everything dried out, they cut the drywall halfway up and they got rid of that moldy stuff. And I don't know about studs and how that all works. You would think that would have to go, but clearly you can't. Anyway, so half the drywall is gone. So here's the reason of my story. So FEMA comes in, everybody that was flooded took the money and refurbished, they remodeled those flooded homes. So the first couple of years, and I was selling a lot of stuff out there back in Terry DeSone's days, a lot of properties out there. The first couple of years, nobody would touch, are those flooded? Was that a flooded house? Yes, we're not looking at that, right? Those became, we don't want the flooded houses. Come back in about 4 or 5 years, when the tragedy has kind of cooled off a little bit. If you look at a house that was flooded versus one that wasn't, all of a sudden the was flooded house, with the tragedy being 5 years old and not such a big deal, is all remodeled and brand new and nice. And the one that wasn't flooded was builder grade from the 80s.
Yeah.
And so all the houses, when people would say, is it flooded? You'd say, yes. And that's the one you want to look at, because it was like twice as good for the same price. It's the same price. How are you going to comp that differently, And I'm just saying, so when you go out to River Plantation, if you're ever looking at properties out there, you're going to see some are like, wow, that's amazing. That was me. That some are looking brand new, flooded, and some are really old and not flooded. That's unintended consequences. I thought that was a great story of how a flood seemingly decimated an area and then didn't.
It did. It did, because I had a friend that lived over there, and we went out there and helped worked on her house a little bit, and every it looked like a war zone. Every house just had piles of rubbish out front. It was just all all the drywall. Like you said, they tore out, waist height drywall, and really what they did with the two by fours and the studs and everything is just they took out all the flooring and took out the the drywall up to a certain point, and then they just brought in fans and let it dry.
Yeah.
Before they put the flooring back in. But
Yeah.
it was it was Harpeth River. It was a mess.
It was a mess. And the only reason it was just such a funny story, because if you're not in the business, you wouldn't have been able to feel that. Is that flooded? Yeah, we don't want to see that. You sure?
So now they're more popular. That makes sense. Yeah, because they look nice and nobody even remembers the flood, in May.
When was it updated? 2010 versus 1980, you tell me. Now it's pretty far down the road, so I imagine it's blended in. But anyway, so when I read this about this short, think about that. You're right. 3 years to completely, wow, it was crazy on the market. What's the unintended consequence of that going to be down the road? That was really my point. That was what I was trying to figure out. I'm done. Hey, that was it. That was great. And for anybody that is looking for loans, I got news for you after today. So I can't tell you the story. This man is a trooper. Rodney, super trooper, Rodney Wilds from now on. get a badge or something. Any final thoughts there, buddy?
No, great show. Nice job.
It was good. That was, and we found out we've got options.
That's right. When my internet goes down.
We've got options. That means you're not off the hook when you go
Yeah,
hunting.
that's right.
Rodney, thank you very much. Angie, so good to see you. Just love having you around here. Thank you for being here. We really, really appreciate it. Hope you come out and let us visit sometime soon. See you later, buddy. Wait, here
All
we
right.
go.
See you.
See ya.